Welcome, everybody. My name is Kyle. This is Auditing with Autism. Thank you so much for showing up today. I wanted to make a video to discuss a little bit about the idea of how we, as autistic people, are using phrases to describe ourselves. It's, it's of course a matter of opinion, but I've been discussing language games and structures recently, when I was talking about philosophers Hume and philosophers Wittgenstein recently. And so I thought it would be interesting to think about, and so I did. And I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts. To be clear, the two popular ways of describing ourselves as autistic people is to say either I have autism or I am autistic. And I think that the animosity comes from trying to help other people understand exactly what autism is. And we want to be as clear as possible and to help a uninitiated listener to understand exactly what we mean when we say I'm autistic. And so the other way of saying it is to say I have autism. So I have autism versus I am autistic. These are the two ways of phrasing or describing ourselves as autistic people. And, I just wanted to mention I have a cousin who has Down syndrome. I think he's the best person I've ever met in my life. He's certainly the most authentic person. He doesn't speak, but he almost can. And he's got the biggest heart. He's just the most real person I've ever met in my life. Every thought and emotion he has is worn on his sleeve and is just genuine. He has no alternative reasons for anything. He's not manipulating any situation ever. And when you hang out with a person like that, it's really humbling. It's humbling because you see an authentic spirit. You see yourself as you could be if there weren't so many other people with their reasons trying to manipulate their situation for themselves. This is part of the human condition. We have to try to discern, all these reasons that other people have. And it's part of the fun, too. So anyway, I was thinking about my cousin who has Down syndrome. Love you, Nicholas. And I just said it right there. He has Down syndrome. He's not Down syndrome. He has it. And that's my point of contention. That's what I'm going to bring to the table, is this idea that if I was going to try to describe my cousin as a person, I would describe him as a person with Down syndrome. I wouldn't describe him as Down syndrome. He's a person with Down syndrome. I can't seem to get over the hump of how I would describe him as a person as Down syndrome. And so I thought it might help us in realizing how we describe ourselves. When you have Down syndrome, it's obviously a genetic situation. So it's a really fundamental part of his DNA, his makeup. So it would be easy to claim that he is Down syndrome because it's a part of his DNA and things like that. Similarly, with our autism, it's a part of our brain structure, and which is great. I think it's a beautiful thing. So my thought on the whole idea is that I think it's appropriate to use both. I have autism and I am autistic. Whereas with my cousin, I don't know that he could ever claim or properly say, I am Down syndrome, because that would sort of describe or sound like he's describing every other person who has Down syndrome is him. You see, so he's not able to describe himself by including every other person who has Down syndrome because he's a unique individual who happens to have Down syndrome. And similarly, again, a person with autism is a unique individual, and they happen to have an autistic brain instead of a neurotypical brain. I also like the phrase, I am autistic, because being autistic is also describing a bit of a personality or character trait. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than a character trait or a personality trait. I'm not saying that it's just that, but it's a part of that. And so when I say I am autistic, I'm describing myself uh, in terms of character and personality a little bit. Character, maybe not so much, but a little bit, if you know what I mean. Especially when you look into who we are, I would say most autistic people have similar characters: authenticity, honesty, and genuine feelings and things like that. And maybe some of the same troubles too, as far as that goes, sensitivities to the world. So I just wanted to throw it out there that I wore my headphones this whole time. Oh well. I just wanted to throw it out there that it's I think it's okay to use both terms. I have and I am both of these things. I have an autistic brain, just like I have blue eyes. I don't identify myself as a person with the color of my eyes, but I think it may be appropriate, because we're talking about the brain, which has all of our personality and our thoughts, to identify as an autistic brain. So I have a brain. That brain is autistic. So I am autistic at the same time as I have an autistic brain. I just can't get over it. I think it's appropriate to use both. I have autism, therefore I am autistic. This is how I describe myself. And I like to use both because the former, I get to describe my brain. I have something, maybe you don't have it, and I can talk about what I have that you don't have that's different. And that's a physical thing, something I have, my brain. And then when I say that I am autistic, I get to talk about the expressions, the presentations, how being autistic shows itself in the world, the personality and all the characteristics of being autistic. So when I say I have something, it allows me to describe physically what that means, the structure of my brain being different. And when I say I am autistic, I get to describe how that expresses, maybe specifically for me or the spectrum in general. So I think they're both appropriate. And I don't, I hope there's not going to be a big divide between people that are autistic people that have strong opinions about how to use these languages. I wanted to share, there's this really great quote. Of course, I have a quote today for us, and I lost my place, but if I can find it, I wanted to share this quote that talked about how, the philosopher Wittgenstein, who I'm a big fan of, it talks about how he thinks about language. And I, of course, mentioned it already a little bit of how he's using languages. Of course, I'm making this noise with this right here, right? My goodness, it's raining cats and dogs outside. Wow. I wanted to say that Wittgenstein has a quote on using language that may be appropriate for this video. He says, quote, I'm sorry, this is a man named Malcolm who was writing a biography about Wittgenstein, and I quoted Malcolm's book. So Malcolm is writing about Wittgenstein. He says, quote, on Wittgenstein's view, philosophy should try neither to identify nor explain the phenomenon of the mind. What should it do then? It should describe language. It should remind us of what we say. It should bring to mind how we actually use the mental terms that confuse us philosophically. And I think that is exactly what we should do with language, and that's precisely what Wittgenstein was trying to do by breaking down and learning about our language structures. And so anyway, that's what I have today. I hope everybody's having a great day out there today. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please like and subscribe if you liked it, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Love you guys.